Hello, everybody. This is Noah Grove here to give you a review of a film called Bird Box. I'm here wearing my lovely bird jacket, and I wore it so that it would endow me with the powers to give an excellent review. Spoiler alert, if you continue watching this review, you may find that it has some spoilers. You may not enjoy the movie as much if you watch this review first. And with that, I'll say that I wouldn't really recommend watching this movie anyway. So, I guess it's a pretty good movie. I mean, the filmography, I guess you would say, is quite good. I think the shots, the picture, the quality of images is very good and enjoyable to watch, and the way that it's pieced together is nice. But it's more the story and the storytelling that I think is lackluster. And for this movie in particular, it's I guess they are calling it a thriller, but it's a thriller with a monster. And in thrillers with monsters, one of the most important aspects of a thriller with a monster is the monster. The way a lot of movies do this is to show like partial reveals early and build up that anticipation for when you're going to see the full view of the monster in all its spooky glory or in all its creepy, whatever it is. There's going to be a moment where you get to really experience this monster in its full terror. This movie doesn't have that, and that's one of the most disappointing aspects of this film for me. I've seen other reviews that are suggesting that that's one of the things that makes this film unique or cool, that it keeps you in the mystery of not knowing exactly what it is, and it puts you in the position of the characters themselves because you never get to see what it is. I don't really buy that, and I think it's just laziness. It's not easy to create a terrifying monster and to really capture it in a way on film that is truly terrifying, especially when you're, every year people get better at doing that, and people themselves become more desensitized. So you have to come up with new ways or do it that much better to really create that same impact within the audience that is already an experienced thriller or horror audience. So to just opt out of trying and have a monster that you never see seems kind of lazy to me. So it's certainly a disappointment because you think it's going to happen the whole time and then you never get to see that. But beyond that, there's so many questions that are raised that never really get answered. I've watched some reviews since watching the movie, and maybe there are some explanations that I may have missed. The movie is kind of a character study, I suppose, but even in that respect, to me, it kind of fails. I think the movie resolves to cheap movie tricks to create the entertainment that they're after. Characters are a bit flat, falling into traditional roles, and they've got a great cast, and so I think they just could have done much more with that. In a lot of movies, there are plot devices that are used. There's a lot of TV shows out there that do this, because when you have a TV show, to my mind, it's really hard to create original, interesting content, over and over and over and over and over and over again within the same framework. And so eventually you'll see TV shows that maybe started with motivating or captivating first season, but then eventually devolve into sort of regurgitation or just plot devices that are very manufactured. And so for this movie, if we're not going to see the monster, for Bird Box, if we're not going to see the monster, the most interesting thing would then be to see how characters handle the adversity, how they survive together, and what heroism is revealed, and what villainism, I guess, would you say? What happens, which characters decide to be very selfish and evil, and do evil things in order to seek their own survival. But the problem with the way the movie is carried out is some of the situations that are created are very forced. The decision making and the way things happen, it's just not logical. There's a character that is an evil character, and he's apparently seen the monster and now has joined sides, and he sort of tricks everyone that he's a good person, and things start happening. The situations, they create these situations that unfold in nearly completely unrealistic ways. There's two pregnant women that start having birth at the exact same time, and so now all the attention of the house has turned. They've locked one person in a garage, and basically there's somebody that's brand new to the house that people weren't so sure if they should trust or not. And now he's left completely to his own devices due to these just situational things. As a result, he then has the opportunity to start laying waste to everybody in the house. There are many ways that they could have laid out how this would happen, that he would launch an attack on the house or try to take the people out, take the people down in the house. But this was one where it's just like everything that can go wrong does in the most insanely ridiculous timing. Like there are movies that do that, like for example, was it Final Destination? Final Destination is great. It's like Final Destination movies. They have these just ridiculous scenarios that everyone knows are completely outlandish, and that's the whole fun in it, is that you get to watch how the filmmakers, you get to experience the creativity of the filmmakers and the writers, how they create these scenarios that happen in a way that is utterly ridiculous, but through the way they film it and the way they present it, it looks like it could really happen. This movie is not that. It's supposed to be an exercise in end-of-the-world thriller, and so it should be realistic. They just didn't put the effort into making it realistic. As the plot develops, the plot should develop in a way that makes sense for all the characters. So if they've brought these different characters into play, and you start to understand the characters, understand how they make decisions and stuff like that, the characters should act according to who those characters are. That's not what happens in this movie. There's another example where Sandra Bullock's character trips over a stick in the ground when she's trying to run away from the monster with her two kids. So she's basically got the kids in her arms and she's running. And then she trips on this stick and she falls and then rolls down a hill and apparently hits her head and is knocked unconscious. And this happens while she's got the kids in her arms. There's certainly no hill in front of her. But what happens is she trips while running forward. Somehow she falls to the side and somehow the kids don't fall with her. She doesn't maintain a grip on the kids. And the kids stay perfectly fine. And then they get up and start looking for her, but they just kind of wander off and separate from each other like clueless zombies or something. And then she wakes back up and there's this epic search, where she has to try to find her children while she can't see. The whole thing was just created by an impossible physical thing that just through film tricks, they make it look like it could happen. It was not successful at all in my mind. And for me, it just reinforced what I'd already seen throughout the movie, which is all of these moments where instead of going to the lengths that it takes to truly create something that's believable, they just went for these cheap workarounds in order to create the tension that they were after. What they wanted was this situation where the kids are separated from the mother and that she has to look for them. Oh, that'll be really suspenseful and that's really cool. There's never been a situation like this in a movie where they have to stay blindfolded and find each other in the wilderness with a monster. So that's what they wanted, and they knew they wanted that. They thought it'd be cool, but then they didn't really spend the time that it takes to develop and create a plausible way to arrive at that situation. So that was it was just for me a reminder of the different ways that they did that throughout the movie, where they wanted a certain effect. And so they just went for the cheapest way to get there. Or maybe not the cheapest, but the movie could have been a lot better than it was. And it was just disappointing to me that they didn't spend enough time and thought and creativity to make it what it deserved to be. In my mind, so there you have it. Bird Box. The most disappointing thing for me is that they tricked me into watching it. I got excited about it. I heard about the plot and I thought, I didn't spend a lot of time looking into it. I just thought the timing seemed right, and The Quiet Place was really cool, and so I thought that anybody that's going to follow The Quiet Place is going to make sure they do it right. But nope, they didn't. And I couldn't believe I was a sucker for it. Here's the Bird Box. Don't go see it, but if you do, try to have a good time. It's not bad. There'll still be things you enjoy about it, but just know that it's ultimately a letdown. I would encourage you, if you go to see it, if you've made it this far in this video, I've already spoiled the movie completely, probably, so you probably won't watch it. But if you decide to still go see the movie, I would just encourage you to not let that anticipation get to you. Just watch it for the enjoyment of the characters and the different scenes. But if you let yourself start anticipating and get excited, then it's going to be a disappointing movie experience. And with that, I'm going to have to make up a character name. This is Noah Bird with another film review, and this one's of Bird Box. Thank you for tuning in, and have a birdie day.